स्तंभाभ्यंतरगर्भभावनिगत तद्वैभव यह पंचाजन पंचजन्य वपुषः व्यादिष्ट विश्वात्मतः प्रह्लादा विहितार्थ तत्क्षणमिदृष्ट प्रमाणं हरिः सोव्यादिन्दु सरदिन्दु सुंदरतनुं सिंहादिचूडामणि. Once again, I welcome you all to this 2 days Conclave of Odia literature. Today's talk on what am I writing now and why by Hrusikesh Panda, the chief speaker. And the session will be chaired by Professor Ajit Kumar Mishra. I would like to request both the scholars, please occupy your seat on the stage. I have the privilege to introduce our esteemed speaker and chairperson for this session. The chairperson, Professor Ajit Kumar Mishra, professor in the Department of Humanitic Studies, IIT-BHU, Varanasi. His research interests span narrative studies, medical humanities, gender and queer studies, as well as film and media studies. He has also served the institute with distinction as head of the department and the faculty in charge of international student welfare. Contributing significantly to academic leadership and student welfare, we are delighted and honored to have Professor Ajit Kumar Mishra ji for the chairperson of this session. I now invite Professor Ajit Kumar Mishra ji to kindly take over the session. Thank you.
Namaskar and good morning to everyone present here. This is a wonderful moment for me personally. As a school child, I witnessed Dr. Panda for the first time. I was in class 7 when I heard him for the first time. That was a wonderful moment for me because I was amazed by the simplicity and the enamored approach with which he can present his thoughts. He used to write even then, so I never knew that there would be a moment in life when I'd be chairing a session where he'll be talking about his experiences as a writer. So this is a wonderful moment. It's amazing, and I really thank the organizers for this connection, this bonding again. I don't know whether they were aware of it or not, but somehow this connection has been established. Dr. Hrusikesh Panda, we all know him. Everyone is connected with the land and its language and literature of Odisha. We all know. So introducing him is definitely a daunting task. It requires a lot of courage. So I can master that courage from my childhood days when I first heard him. Dr. Hrusikesh Panda is an accomplished scholar, administrator and creative writer of rare versatility. He holds a master's degree in nuclear chemistry from Utkal University, a PhD in English literature and an MBA from Southern Cross University, Australia. A member of the Indian Administrative Services, he topped the 1979 IAS batch. So I want all of you to put your hands together for a huge round of applause for bringing this rare distinction to the land of Odisha. He retired in 2015 as Secretary to Government of India, Ministry of Tribal Affairs, after a distinguished career in public service. Regarded as an original independent voice and among major Indian writers, Dr. Panda's creative range spans multiple genres and languages. Since the 1980s, he has written over 100 short stories, 9 novels, and 4 plays, demonstrating a remarkable thematic depth and formal experimentation. His novel, Praudha Bhavana, written originally in Odia in 1992, received the Odisha Science Academy Award, while another of his works, Sunaputra Loke, which was also written in Odia in 1992, The People of Sonaput, in English translation, 2013, has also won the Bhubaneswar Book Fair Award in 1992. His play, God Demon, 2007, earned the All India Drama Festival Award at Allahabad, now Prayagraj, for Best Play. It was later published by the Science Academy as a modern classic, subsequently translated into several Indian languages. His play Vasco da Gama and novel Dasyu received Rajdhani Book Fair Awards in 2002 and 2004 respectively. A Tamil translation of his short stories won the Science Academy Award in 2001. And among all these works, the best so far is magnum opus, Garba Karivara Katha. I mean, one should take pride in it. That was originally published in 2010, a monumental 600-page work that chronicles Odisha's maritime legacy across 17 generations of seafarers over 5 centuries. And that has earned him the prestigious IMFA Sarada Award in 2012. So, with so many things in his back, I now request and invite Dr. Hrusikesh Panda to kindly come forward and share his wonderful experiences with all of us.
Thank you very much. I've got a bad diary, so I may speak very long. I just quickly, in about 2-3 minutes, describe my early kind of experience as a writer. Those days, like many of us, we wrote about what came to our minds, our consciousness, our dreams. We didn't care much about, at least I didn't care much about what the readers thought, whether they understood it, whether they liked it or not liked it. It was kind of a journey of yourself from your inside to outside. So my first novel, I'll just focus on novel because I'll briefly be going on the novel route. Had a very easy title. Soon Sangya Sameka Samni. A temporary truce with zero. Nice title, very easy to understand. No? So, okay. So I didn't bother much whether people will understand it or read it or like it or not like it. It was published by Grantha Mandir. I'm forgetting the year, 81, 82 or so. And a year later, one day Mr. late Abhiram Mahapatra, the publisher, he came to my office. He doesn't normally go to anybody's office. And gave me a check. I said, what is this? He said, your book has sold out. I said, in 1 year, a book with a title like A Temporary Liaison with Zero sold out. in Odisha. Anyway, that was the kind of abstraction or distraction, or it was more like a distraction. I wrote what I felt like. Well, I went on writing as my concerns changed. My concerns became more about the people outside. I stopped writing about myself. One point which I continuously saw being mentioned is Odisha is a poor state. Even yesterday, I thought by now that mindset should have changed. But even now, that is the main discourse, since discourse word has been used a lot yesterday, I think. Let me interrupt one thing. I just got a feedback from yesterday. I just got a feedback yesterday that जो ओडिया पिला माने अछंती समाने ओडिया रे टिके बुझिबा को चाहती एवं जेहेतु ओडिया इंग्रजी मिसे की कहबाटा सुंदर हबा नै आई फिनिश माय thing in English, but the students who want to ask me questions are free to ask me in Odia and I'll answer it in Odia. Just a minute. Okay. So why Odisha continues to be poor? Imagine, and when some of these European anthropologists, archaeologists, they have a theory about Odisha's maritime tradition. That Ashoka came, he killed 1 lakh people, incapacitated another 1 lakh people, arrested 1.5 lakh people, took them away. All the rich, able-bodied and upper caste people were gone. Out of starvation, out of absence of any engagement, livelihood, the Odias ran off to Southeast Asia as some kind of beggars. This is the theory which is available in print, and I'm sure you'll find it in the internet also. There are only some French anthropologists and archaeologists like Courches, Coertz, you know how French spellings are. People like him said that no, it didn't happen. I'll come back to that point. What he, for example, said is that the persons who went to establish Cambodia, that is Cambodia Empire, they belong to Kaudinya dynasty. You may have seen it in the papers. In 1st century AD. I've seen his papers. I've been to Cambodia many years ago. I've seen the sculpture, and particularly the rock edicts. There are 2 things which I have noticed. If you have carefully looked at the lions in Odisha temples, can you remember, can you recall how those lions look? Do they look like lions? The same designs you will find in Southeast Asia, you will find in Misr, you will find in Philippines. Do you remember that lion face? No. This lion doesn't look like a lion. It doesn't look violent. It has large eyes. It has slightly smiling face. Can you think? Can you just focus for a minute? Am I right? it looks smiling. This is one of our iconography, which establishes Kalinga architecture as distinct from all other Indian architecture, and of course, not to speak of the other countries. Now, what the French had said, Cambodia was established by a Cambos king, and my search of these descriptions came to the conclusion. Though, I mean, we also have the pettiness. Somebody says which, and what is in present day Balasore, somebody says it's in present day Srikakulam. But it looks like from the Hrusikesh mouth, they went. He belonged to a Gotra called Kautinnya, which is a Brahmin Gotra. And from then on he goes on to say the people who migrated to Southeast Asia and other places were not the poor low caste people. In fact, there is no low caste those days. Those days there were only two castes. One caste which was expert in seafaring, movement of planets, stars, prediction of weather, prediction of movement of the sea and the tides. They were called Brahmins. Rest of the people were known as what is known as equivalent to Bashya. Means they were all doing various kinds of professional activity. These were the two castes which are visible in the old system. There are no Sudras. Shudra etymologically, my colleagues from Sanskrit department will kindly check. Sudra those days was derived from the word, its etymology was from Suddha, which is pure. The derivatory meaning of Sudra came much later after the invaders came. Now, the advancement of Kalinga happened. What many people can't understand and why they keep thinking that Odisha became poor is because there is no major dynasty which was ruling Odisha. They have not been able to understand that the administrative system in Odisha was not built of one family empires. We had small states. The states used to select, not elect, select the king of Kalinga. The king of Kalinga sometimes continued hereditary, sometimes the elections used to be regular. I'll just give you one archaeological evidence. Bhadrak king is described as a Gona king. And it has been interpreted, unfortunately, again on the basis of what the British said or what the outsider historians said, that there was a Gona Bangsa also, Gona dynasty. I don't see any remnant of Gona dynasty or anything predecessor of Gona dynasty. Gona means simply Ganatantra. They were elected in the same Panchayati system, which still exists in some parts. In the old, before the Panchayats came, each village used to send a representative. They formed a council. That council sent people, and that's how they used to be kings. That's how there used to be multiple kings. We still also think about the Buddhist dominance on culture. I'll tell you briefly, and that may shock some people, but in detail if you go, and some of which is there in my novel, is Ashoka said that, I gave you the figures. I don't think so many people existed in that little village, Dhori. Dhori village description was those days. There were two hill ranges. On one side there is Daya river, on the other side was this lake, big lake, which was later known as Kosodia Ganga Lake. So it was almost a small square of place with let alone 3.5 lakh people. There, it would be difficult to accommodate even 3,500 people. 3,500 people can't stay in that little location. And what does Ashok's inscription say? It says certain when about the killing of the people, the rock inscription doesn't, the one placed at Dhauli doesn't mention these numbers. These numbers are mentioned in something which is placed in Pakistan now. It is now in Pakistan. And to justify this, why he didn't let those figures be there in Dhauli? He said, it is written in first place. I'm sure Ashok didn't write all those things because he wasn't that, what we read about it in history is not that kind of, let's say, shrewd. He was not a shrewd person, whatever he may be. He said, my administration, my governance is so complex, so big, that I can't write everything everywhere. So for different places, I have this written long rock edit. Segments of this as suitable to the local population should be given. So obviously they did not place these 3.5 lakh people being damaged in Dhauli because people would have beaten them up. As simple as that. So they put it in Pakistan, which is now in Pakistan. The Kharavara, in contrast, was actually a very witty person. You know what he writes about? He has described in his Khandagiri inscription that 3 attacks he made from Kalinga to others. One is in the south, Satparni or Satparni kingdom. The last was to Magad, to get back some what should I say? Some things he had looted from Kalinga, so including religious things, Hindu and Jain. There are 3 attacks, and he describes them in the same way. He says, we went with soldiers. We went dancing with elephants, horses, swords. We went dancing, and we started threatening, shouting, this, that. And we said, whoever has got stolen materials, return them to us. Then Ashok had also said one thing. He had employed officers to enforce his dharma. Dharma means his religious officers. So in one case he says, one such a religious officer, a big golden bowl was found, and he had taken it from a villager, rich villager. So we got it and gave it back to him, the original owner. So we danced for the next day, and on the 3rd day when we left, all those people who had got stolen goods, or some people gifts and some kings, they all gave it to us and we came back happily. There was no bloodshed, no killing, and we got back and it was peaceful. Similar, the next two conquests are also like this. Now, Kharawar, who was settling between 1st and 2nd century BC, at that time we have also been told in our history books that Ashok's son and daughter went to Sri Lanka to spread Buddhism. Look at the absurdity. It is utterly absurd and nonsense. Sri Lanka, as we know, you have seen Sri Lanka script. When I was recently, some years ago, I was traveling in Sri Lanka. Suddenly, I found people talking behind me, and it sounded a little like Odia. Then when I listened carefully, and suddenly somebody said, "How? Hela, Hari. How? Hela, Hari." Exactly the way we say. After we finish a conversation, we say, "How? Hela, Hari. Hari, but God." Suddenly you take it back and look, and you find that no, they are not speaking in Odia, they are speaking in Sri Lanka. It took me some time to discover a fact which is well known elsewhere, but somehow we didn't want to learn it. The Bahu dynasty, which ruled Sri Lanka from 6th century BC till 1500 AD, that's 2100 years ago. They had gone from a place called Singapore in Kalinga. Singapore means lion, and that is why Single name came. That is how Single flag still has the lion, although it is the name has changed. So they were Hindus, obviously, simply because Buddhism was not there in 6th century BC. So they have chronicled their rule from 6th century till about 1500 in what is known as Bahu Bangsa. It is written in a language. The language and the script is the one which was used in Kalinga in 6th century BC. From 10th century BC, Odisha had a consistent kind of script. It will take back me to Sanskrit language. If I get time, I will mention otherwise. But the script which was used and the language which was used in 6th century BC was the one adopted by Bahubangsa. Bahubangsa translation. It's a huge book, as I said, from 6th century AD to 1500, 6th century BC to 1500 AD. It has been translated by, Americans have gone and translated some things and they put it in some locker of CIA and then they release it. But they have edited it thoroughly. The one which you find in this American version of the translation, you will not find this mention of this. But I have read some of the translations by Sri Lankan scholars. In fact, when the Buddhists came, Buddhism actually started in India about 2 centuries after Buddha's death. Ashoka was no Buddhist. He didn't practice anything Buddhist. After becoming a Buddha, in one of his rock scripts, he says, "But I the monarch has given up all non-veg food, and except 2 deer and one peacock. Nothing else is killed in the king's kitchen nowadays. My God, 2 deer and 1 peacock. Except that, no other non-veg food is cooked in the king's kitchen. So that was the kind of Buddhist he was. Anyway, nothing against Ashok. But because while what Buddha said was not codified, it took time to be codified. Then when it was being codified, you had this Hinajan and Mahajan. There's a fight between the Buddhists. Mahayans, who were the ones who claimed to be, that they can interpret what Buddha had said, and Hinayans are the ones who cannot interpret. So all these interpretations went 1 or 2, 3 centuries. So that's why there is no real Buddhism as practiced. So when the Buddhists went to Sri Lanka maybe around 1st or 2nd century AD, and then they wanted to rewrite the early Bahuvamsa as if it was established by a Buddhist. So they tried writing it. That Buddhist version is also available. But they said Buddha was not even born. How can you have Buddhism before Buddha was born? In 6th century BC. So now that has been corrected by Sri Lankans themselves. They have made extensive genetic analysis and have shown that the genes of Sri Lankans matches with that of people of Odisha by about 90%. In fact, it's a little more than 90%. So this was the grandeur, the strength, the power. So when Ashok had invaded Kalinga, Singapore was still a powerful kingdom. Singapore is the mouth of Brahmani in what is now known as Bay of Bengal, those days known as Kalinga Sagar. So this was so when Ashoka attacked Kalinga was not a pauper, it was not a begging state. It was a state which had established a colony, full colony, on the invitation of Sri Lanka, the entire Sri Lanka. And they have built some systems which people who have some familiarity with our agriculture system. We don't have in many places a big dam and canals. We have an irrigation system in which, because of the natural elevation, because we find particularly in western Odisha, but also in coastal Odisha, like tanks being dug at different elevations. So they work as a flow irrigation. The same technology was used in Sri Lanka, and it is said, it is written there in Bahuvamsa, that this is the technology we have. We are following the same technology as we did in Kalinga. I don't know. Now having written Garpa Parivar Katha, I started thinking that now I must go back to the unknown times. That needs a lot more work, but I have found a lot of similarity. I'll give an example of Mishra. I can give many examples, but I'll just give an example of Mishra, and then I'll tell you the present talk which is there. No? Did people from India come and occupy America or not? That I'll finish there. Which is the main content of my current novel, which I have tentatively I called it Ojara Samayakata, Stories of Unknown Times. Because most of it is unknown. In Misr, they used to come, there is evidence, they used to come to Puri temple. Puri temple was quite functional from about 5000 BC. 5000 BC. History what even Abul Fazl has said in 1400 or 1500 whenever he was there. He had gone to Puri and he had his connects with Western Asia. So even his estimate is about 5000 BC. Misr, there is this sun temple which is known as, anybody knows? Konarka. The sun temple in Misr is known as Konarka. They write Konarak in English, of course. Konarka. They have Nile River, of course, everybody has heard. Nile River consists of two rivers. One comes from Ethiopia, which is the Blue River. One comes from further south, Uganda, which is a muddy river. They join together in a place called Duragama. Duragama. Now it is capital of one of the Muslim state countries, Sudan or something. So it is a Muslim name, but the old name Duragama, coming from far, because it's quite a distance it comes when it joins together. From there it is known as Nile River, which is actually Nila River. Nila means blue, and the water is blue, particularly the one which comes from Ethiopia. Then they go to a place called Laksheshwar. Later, when the Europeans found it, Laksheshwar, the Indians will claim it, let us call it Lakshar. L-U-X-O-R. I don't think that sound existed in Africa. Lakshar may have existed in some Greece or something, or Rome, but not in Africa. So that is Laksheshwar. Then there is a car festival. The car festival has also three deities. One is dark, one is yellow, one is white. You can compare it. One is, they call it sun, moon and something, but that's Jagannath, Balabhadra and Subhadra. That is the... But the most important part is, this Rath Yatra happens on the day Odisha Rath Yatra takes place, according to the solar calendar. That is, Odisha Rath Yatra kebe हुए? आषाढ़ से? आषाढ़ द्वितीय में तांको रथ यात्रा हुए. से रथ यात्रा आषाढ़ द्वितीय तो गणना करी आसी नथिले तांको. से calendar, for the calendar they had to depend on us. So our people from Kalinga had gone and set in the temple certain windows from which they would know that, okay, Ashara Ditya is on when the day falls here for the first time. So that's the day Rath Yatra takes place. But as some of you may know or may not know, this system, the solar system is not steady in the universe. Even the solar system moves. That movement affects in our horoscope what we see about the stars. Why does it happen? It is because the solar system is moving. These are the stars. Like Sagittarius. Sagittarius is actually a galaxy, but we know it is a star. Dorno Rasi Jota. That is one of the closest, because it is only 10 light years away. Light takes 10 years to come from Sagittarius to solar system. So it is one of the closest. So vis-a-vis that, there is a movement of the solar system, because of which there is some correction to be made, which is known as Eulench's. That is what the Eulench's correction is. Anyway, that's a minor part. Well, there was trade. Goods trade was not much, but certainly there was exchange of people and exchange of knowledge. Particularly, so when they started building pyramids only after the coming in contact with this thing, because there was a question of reincarnation. Some people started claiming that we are the incarnation, some of those kings, pharaohs or whatever. We are the so we have become, since we are incarnations of sun god, so therefore there will be a pyramid. That's how the pyramids came, and that I have written in some detail in my forthcoming novel, but I let it be here. Coming to the America part. We have been in Southeast Asia for a long time, even before 3500 BC. I'll give you some quick examples. In Java, where that word comes from? Java, any idea? Java comes from Java. Sanskrit Japa means jaw, what we call jaw. In English it is called barley. Okay. Barley was not a very lucrative crop, but that was what Java was named after, because this was the main cereal crop they had. So the Kalinga people took paddy, rice, several varieties, which actually made them rich, because rice was in great demand in whole of Southeast Asia. It is believed that about 10,000 or 15,000 BC, there was a deluge, which had submerged many of the previous landed area. Because of which the migration stopped. But that's a long topic, I'll not get into that now. Then the main temple in main port is about port management. That's called a Kalinga. There is a Kalinga port in Sumatra. Sumatra is the north-south part of Java, Indonesia. Then this is the east-west part, the Java. There is a Kalinga port. You go further east. Philippines, what is called Philippines, was known as Maharloko. Philippines, the king of Philippines of Maharloko was known as Kalinga. They have two Kalinga ports. Taipei is one port, the other port is Kalinga. Brunei, you know what Brunei comes from? Brunei comes from Baruna, after Baruna. Brunei has a Kalinga port. Now, many Chinese people who have written this much later, 6th century, 7th century AD, they have written that people liked to have ports managed by Kalinga, because this was managed democratically. There used to be a committee consisting of all stakeholders, ship owners, traders, goods, local government. And so that is how they manage the port. A number of Chinese people have written it. And now, coming from the one theory was that Pikers, the Saravas went to Southeast Asia and they also come to West. The problem with coming to West is, you can come to Africa, no problems. Cross Arab Sea, part of Atlantic and come. Not part, it's basically Indian Sea, Indian Ocean. You cross Indian Ocean and come to Africa. Africa's east coast. For going to Africa's west coast, you have to go south and cross the southern tip. That is a turbulent area, because suddenly, for some reason, not some reasons are known, Antarctica is a very violent area in terms of weather. People from other disciplines can check this. It's a very violent area. So there a lot of shipwrecks used to take place. Then coming to crossing Atlantic and going to the south of South America, that is impossible. Even today, with atomic powered ships, only they can cross. Even the petroleum powered ships find it difficult. It is so tumultuous. So going through south of South America and going to America doesn't arise. The evidence of going to America, Central America, on the southeast side are many. I'll just give you a couple of examples. I'll just give you one or two examples. There's a group of islands called Kiribati. It's spread over maybe a few thousand kilometers of sea, but some 7, 8 or 10 islands. So there is some British reference I had seen. They mentioned some Gilbert. Gilbert is he had done something and in his name people were so gaga that they named it Gilbert Island, and Gilbert is people. But when I checked what Gilbert had done for them, I found that he had not done nothing. Nobody knew him. But I found that this is not Gilbert but Kiribati. Kiribati sounds more like Odia, no? Kiribati, we have Kiribati, Baravati. So, Kiri means, in Sanskrit, one meaning of Kiri is Bara, bull. Okay? Bull. Bati means land, island. So, in fact, even today, that place is full of boats and it's an island, a few islands. The presence of this kind of language and the knowledge of going, the simplicity or the ease of going along the equator to Central America was something that sailors from Odisha were more familiar with. They were more comfortable with that kind of voice. I don't know how time is. How much time? 5 minutes. Okay. So this is where I must end now. But this is just some patience and strength to finish my novel. This novel which I am writing now, The Unknown Times. Thank you very much.
We can take questions now. Questions from the audience.
Did the people from Kalinga go to space, to, for example, Moon or Mars? Because having gone all the way to Kiribati,
Is there a handheld mic available here?
no, I think I'm loud enough. Can you hear what I'm saying?
Yes, yes, I can
I
hear.
say that since the Kalingans had already gone to Kiribati and probably a little more time they would be going into Venezuela, then to Brazil, then to, so did they also go to moon? Because it is believed by many Indians these days that we had spacecrafts. Some of them might have flown from Odisha.
Yes.
So I don't know. I mean, you can
So
find.
the skill is about knowing whether people from Kalinga go to or went to moon. Did they ever try? Do we have any evidence of that in their space adventures? So at least he is not aware of that. So
More research you will find out.
yes, we may be able to do
Only
that.
you need more time.
So yes, we can take a question from there.
It's a wonderful presentation, and I must appreciate that you are now trying to look back at the history of the maritime history of it. But I think it is a little problematic because we are somewhere venturing into the historian space. And when we say evidences, what kind of evidences we are actually producing to contest our viewpoint? It seems to be a little problematic, for me at least. Let me give you a couple of examples from your lecture. One is that you said there is a place called Konar. I'm sorry, that place is not called Konar in Egypt. That place is called Karnak, which means it's a fortified village. So the problem is that if we find a similar or sounding similar phonetic word, we just can't jump into that space saying that these two might be the one thing. The more problematic than that is putting Jagannath temple to 5000 BC. Because as an art historian, when we look at the stylistic, the material culture and the images of that particular temple and the process through which this whole evolution of that temple was built, we cannot place it anywhere before even 10th century because anywhere in India we didn't have temple construction before 5th century AD, the first being the Bhitargaon in Madhya Pradesh. So we don't have any idea that there, in any material evidence, that there was any temple constructed in India in stone as a material before, I am telling only temples, before the 5th century AD. So having put that in place and looking at the evolution of Odishan architecture which begins in around 7th century and goes up to the 14th century, before we get into the next phase of the historical discourse, putting Jagannath temple through the analytics, through the lens of image making, iconography and the text that has been put around us in the sculptural panels of Bhagavad Puran, which is one of its kind, where Bhagavad Puran is nowhere mentioned in any other temple walls. So this is a very interesting example that we have in Puri temple. So having said that, when we place it in 5000 BC, I have reasons to suspect that. Number 3, yes, we had a very, very rich maritime history, and yes, we agree that our maritime history is enriched by the colonization in Southeast Asia. But those colonizations, if we study closely, then Java, Sumatra, and then Srivijaya's conquer of Cambodia in 8th century takes us through that, that maritime history where we have very strong sculptural evidences which have got some amount of close replication of these images in the Southeast Asia. So when you are saying that there was number of ports which are named after Kalinga, it also puts us in a challenge because they don't have ports named as Kalinga in the historic evidences. So I'm not aware about the American connections or whatever, but I am sure that these material evidences which have been recovered from the places or placing a time and fixing it on the land, and then when we imagine that it could have been because the sound is very close to that other sound, I think that's a problematic area to touch upon. So
Okay, thank you for the question. So that
See, I can't speak so loud.
no, you please speak, sir.
See, Kalinga first of all, those places still exist with the names. Kalinga.
You can take one of the mics. Yeah, one of the mics.
Hello. Is it? Now, Kalinga, some of those places exist even today. Philippines was called Philippines when the Spanish came at about around 15th, 16th century. So they removed so their documentation shows that the king, the designation of king of Spain, of Philippines, which what they call Philippines after their king's name. See, I'm not a history student, but I am saying this is what I am gathering with a fresh lookout, and I am only picking up that which has got evidence and which connects with the history. Many other cultural things also which are associated with it. So on the Pekalinga, for example, even in today's map, you check Java is like this.
No, that I agree.
That's the definition.
That I have agreed.
Pekalinga still exists. So obviously that comes from Kalinga. And the Chinese texts about Kalinga ports, I'm not carrying the references, but I'm sure you will find those, the 2-3 names of 6th, 7th century AD, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, those centuries. And there they have written that the traders from across the different countries and different goods, they preferred Kalinga management, not because Kalingas were very rich or anything, but because they were very fair. That was the point. Now it's a question of Karnataka meaning. I know about that argument. That meaning, I don't know which meaning is first. No. So if there is a sun, no, you have made your point. I'm trying to. I'm neither of us. But I'll say something about the prejudice. Why did the Archaeological Survey of India? Why does it have a rule that no monument can be declared to be older than 1st century AD without the clearance of the government? This was a British mandate and it continues even today. Now, even Lingara's temple in Bhubaneswar, you mentioned about Kalinga architecture, so I am giving you an example. Lingara's temple. Bigger Lingara's temple, there is a temple of goddess which was destroyed by somebody. Obviously Hindus would not have destroyed it, and it is the same architecture as what is known as Kalinga architecture. It's a structure with a heavy stone on top. This is a technology which was probably very, very protected, because this architecture of Kalingas hasn't found replication in other countries to have the same form. There's some kind of trade secret. The reason why Architectural Survey of India, when I was checking, is that because they pegged the civilization, human civilization, best of human civilization, at the level of Greeks. So Iliad, Odyssey, so no Ramayana, no Mahabharata, no Veda can be written before Iliad, Odyssey. That's the kind of pegging they have. And if you agree with me, it's fine. If you don't agree with me, it's fine. But I think that is the reason why this anachronistic and thing has come up. You said that there can be no structure before first century. But when it came to pyramids, you allowed it.
Sir, if I can come in just briefly, because you said that the Archaeological Survey of India, stopped it at some point, not to be considering other, structures.
No. They say you cannot declare it. You can discover it, but you can't give a date before first century.
No, but we have already given dates to Indus Valley civilization.
But
We have already given dates prior to that to Indus Valley civilization. So it is not kind of a very unusual thing.
so that is
But what I was trying to point out is, we don't have any archaeological support which can prove your claim that there was another Devi temple under the Lingaraj temple. No. There is no evidence as far as I know.
there has been excavation 50 years ago, and
There is a temple, Sari temple, which has been excavated. That is a different issue.
that's a different.
But this one. But what I am trying to put here is that when we venture into the places which we are not expert of, for example, the temple architecture, that if you say that the temple architecture is not found elsewhere in the world, the problem is, what are the material available in the regional quarries? Only that supports you to create a temple, number one. Number two is that when we are making images, then that is completely on the faith and belief of the patron who supports a making of a temple. Number three, that when we have the supporting programming of the temple, if you go by the architectural plans of the traditional temple making in Shilparatna Kosh, in Vastu Sutra Upanishad, in a lot of Indian texts which describes about it, they have already been dated to the dates which have been given to.
I think we are running short of time.
No, I know, but I'm just trying to put my
We
point
can
here.
take this discussion.
Yes,
to the
of
sidelines.
course, but the point is that somewhere this is actually creating, problematizing history.
Time stopped it because he's writing a novel, not history. So novel he can write history.
He's made it very clear that he's actually talking about stories, histories, and stories about histories as well. So we all are eagerly waiting for his novel to come out so that this critical discourse can be taken up. So we are running short of time.
Just a small,
Please.
this is about location of Kiribati. It is certainly not located in Latin America or Central America. It is a group of islands located in Central Pacific, east of Australia. So the notion that you say that if a ship from Kalinga has to go to Kiribati, it has to go to southern tip of South Africa, then from there they will have to go to
Africa.
Yeah, that's what you said.
South Africa is on the west of India. I'm talking of east of India.
So the Kiribati is also to the east of India. It is not in the Central America. You said that it is the island of Central America. It is certainly not.
This is Central America.
Yeah, that's what you said. It is not in Africa also. It is, if somebody has to go to Kiribati, they have to go through Southeast Asia, not through Africa or any other.
Oh, yes, clarify.
Kiribati is on the Visibare. Kiribati island is around north and south of Visibare. That's okay.
So thank you, Dr. Panda. Thank you for your enriching session, enriching talk on stories, histories, and stories about histories. So he talked about his ongoing experience writing this novel. So let's wait for this novel to come out. Now you have created that eagerness and curiosity in all of us. So we'll be waiting for your novel to come out so that we can take a look at it. And of course, historians and other critics can also have a look at it, and then we can debate its ifs and buts. So thank you for your session. What we can sum up after listening to Dr. Panda is how a writer's worldview gradually unfolds before us. So he made some very interesting assumptions about human nature, and his understanding of power, suffering, agency and morality, and his orientation to that's very interesting. It was really interesting to discover that he was strictly oriented towards history. His orientation to society, history and other institutions as well. And finally his beliefs about knowledge, truth and meaning. He's already into a meaning making process. So let's wish him all the best so that he comes up with his project, the novel, Unknown Times. Thank you for this session. And thank you to the audience for being there with him also. Thank you.
It's a time for felicitation. I would like to request our chairperson to felicitate our speaker. Anirban. Chittaranjan to felicitate our chairperson, Professor Ajit Kumar Mishra. Thank you, one and all.